It's ugly and it's ill-fitting and the material is crap. Yeah, I don't like this.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I have
an insanely massive Claire's haul!
I have spent all my money and there's no going back now. So here we are.
And I love fast fashion, I love current trendy stuff, I love shopping, you get it. I love spending my money recklessly.
Fashion is the second skin we choose for ourselves. It allows us to express ourselves. Fashion unites diverse people and has become its own unique form of art throughout history. Unfortunately, not all fashion is necessarily faultless, especially when conversation shifts to the model under which it is produced. In 10 minutes or less, let's break down the issue with our current fashion model and why it needs to be radically changed. Fast fashion is the term used to describe the model of garment production and advertisement that is used by most companies worldwide. According to Anna Majoy in the scholarly article Fast Fashion, Sustainability, and the Ethical Appeal of Luxury Brands, fast fashion, low-cost clothing collections based on current high-cost luxury fashion trends, is, by its very nature, a fast response system that encourages disposability. It is also characterized by low prices, lightning-fast levels of output, and new styles every week to keep consumer demand and profits high. Fast fashion is a global phenomenon, with billions exposed to it each day. Every person, from the CEO to the fashion designer to the everyday shopper, plays a role in proliferating the negative effects fast fashion has on the environment. In tandem with one another, fast fashion and social norms have made it common to purchase an item of clothing without taking into account the negative ecological trail that precedes it. In the process of textile production, companies will use toxic chemicals for growing cotton that pollute nearby water sources or seep into the earth. This alters the biochemistry of the affected ecosystems and makes the land either unsustainable for native plant growth or makes it unsuitable for animal habitation. Furthermore, the fashion industry is the second biggest consumer of water, producing 20% of wastewater. In a world of hyper-consumerism, water has become somewhat of a hot commodity, with millions of people not having access to water, let alone clean water, in their everyday life. Due to strategic marketing, consumers now expect that an item of clothing isn't made to last forever, and they accept that while fully knowing that it will go out of style by the time it rips anyways. According to M. Sharma in an article entitled Financial Express, the fashion industry operates in a linear manner, meaning that clothes are made out of non-renewable resources and are often used for only a short time. Because it is relatively cheap, many companies opt to produce their clothing using synthetic materials, like polyester. The alarming rate at which synthetic clothing is being thrown away far outweighs the rate at which those tossed textiles can be broken down. The UN estimates that fashion is responsible for 92 million tons of solid waste dumped in landfills each year. In turn, thousands of living species are being displaced by anthropocentric waste. With such vast levels of output, companies are left with a vast overstock of merchandise that do not sell. Fast fashion companies have been caught in past scandals burning their extra clothing, supposedly to not devalue the brand, and because it is ultimately more efficient than recycling it. As Lucy Siegel explains in the article, destroying unsold clothes is fashion's dirty secret, and we're complicit. Public outcry over the destruction of fashion overstock shows that these methods of disposal are rated close to zero, but people continue to prop up the low-cost, high-volume system that makes it an inevitability. This is harmful because the process of burning releases greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. To make matters worse, it is estimated that the fashion industry pumps out more carbon dioxide than international flights and shipping combined. This phenomenon, known as climate change, can lead to extreme weather patterns, geographical shifts that cause species extinctions, and other severe effects for Earth's inhabitants. When washed, synthetic materials such as polyester shed microfibers. These microscopic pieces of plastic are indigestible by any living organism, human or otherwise. What this means is that fish and other aquatic species are ingesting tiny plastic fragments, which include artificial microfibers released when the polyester garments are laundered. From there, humans ingest marine life as sources of protein, not knowing exactly what kind of microplastics are trapped within. Unfortunately, fast fashion comes at a cost that most people forget about, which is problematic because without taking people into account in your activism in your national parks, something essential is missing. Companies must make cuts somewhere along the supply chain, and usually they are able to do so by outsourcing and exploiting their workers. They exist in faraway countries like Bangladesh, India, or China, but nevertheless, they exist. When talking about the ethics of fast fashion, it is important to note that, according to the article Why This Clothing Company is Making Its Factory Wages Public by Adele Peters, an average garment worker in Bangladesh sewing for fast fashion brands might make around 33 US cents and struggle to pay bills even working 60 hours a week. And more, garment workers, which are mainly comprised of women, face sexual harassment in the workplace and poor working conditions, sometimes working illegal overtime in order to produce enough to appease big businesses. It is simply not enough to pass laws and to make this change, as sometimes not even laws are enforced. A key part of the issue is that people treat cheaply made clothing as disposable. In the scholarly article Fashion, Sustainability, and the Anthropocene, Andrew Brooks describes how modern life consists of unsustainable patterns of resource consumption and use that are dictated by values such as the social desire for new and fashionable garments. In other words, the human desire for newness is also one part of the formula for Earth's decay. In the novel Visit Sunny Chernobyl, Andrew Blackwell explains that a paradox of the conservation movement is that it both depends on personal experience of nature for its motivation and clings to the idea that modern humans have no place in a truly modern world. But the problems with this are obvious. We're here. To think that humans are not entirely instrumental in determining the fate of the world is naive at best. By buying into fast fashion without education on the topic, consumers are also buying into a vicious cycle that perpetuates mistreating animals, draining Earth's natural resources, and violating human rights. How do we stop our destruction before we can no longer? Closed-loop models often forge a connection between throwing away unwanted items and buying new ones, as recycling bins are located in retail stores. This model gives unwanted clothing an afterlife, and most importantly, keeps it out of a landfill. By consuming less clothing in general and recognizing that a trend is merely just that, a passing fad, we are sending a message to the fashion industry to produce less, and actually could end up saving money in the long term. Though this could entail different processes for each individual, social change, such as reducing the motivation and expectation to consume new synthetic clothing, can also alleviate environmental degradation. There are many alternatives out there for ethical, sustainable fashion. For example, did you know that buying a used garment extends its life on average by 2.2 years, reducing its carbon waste and water footprints by 73%? No matter how many tops or dress or jeans one may buy, at the end of the day, there is only a single Earth, and if we choose to enjoy its beauty, we must also work to protect it. To learn more about sustainable alternatives to fashion, please check out my fashion guide, Wear Your Values, or look at my capsule wardrobe lookbook to see a solution in action.